My girlfriend, M, and I met at university almost 10 years ago. We had been friends on and off since then, but it was never like we were super close. We met again at a New Year's party in 2023, and we started talking more, and eventually we started dating. I'm a foster parent. My parents were foster parents when I was growing up, and once I reached the age to qualify, I trained to become one myself. I've been fostering since I was about 22 years old. I currently foster 3 boys. The older 2 are biological brothers and moved in with me in early 2022. The youngest one, who is 11 years old, has lived with me since June 2019. This is something that I obviously made very clear to Em when we started dating, and she has always been incredibly supportive. I introduced her as my girlfriend to them about 6 months ago. I know that took me a long time, but I'm super cautious about introducing new people to them, especially considering some of their pasts surrounding step-parents. She never rushed me into introducing them and has never tried to force a relationship with them. Looking back, I don't know if she has even tried to form a solid relationship with them at all. The 11-year-old has been moved to a long-term placement with me, which is 2 steps below adoption, which means he is never going to be removed from my household or reintroduced back into his biological family. He is my son and calls me dad, etc. He hadn't been in contact with his biological family for over 2 years and has really wanted to get in contact with his mom. I have been trying my hardest to arrange this for him, but his biological mom just hasn't been willing. Since he moved in with me, she has had 3 more children who have all stayed living with her. This is something the 11-year-old really struggles with. He has such complex feelings of abandonment that I couldn't even begin to unpick them here. But I have been working to build his self-worth back up. It has been a long road with so many ups and downs, but I feel like I'm getting somewhere with him finally. His social worker and I finally managed to arrange contact with his biological mom, and she agreed to meet him in person, which is what he has been begging for years. It was arranged for last Sunday. Looking back, she immediately seemed off after I told her. When I asked, she just told me that she had a bad day at work, even though she seemed fine prior. About 5 days after I told her when the contact was arranged for, she asked to meet up for a romantic dinner. I asked my mom to have the boys for the evening and met her at her favorite restaurant. She told me she had booked a romantic lodge trip. I was initially excited, but I found out she had booked it for the same weekend the 11-year-old was meeting his biological mom. I told her I wouldn't be able to go, that I needed to be with the 11-year-old because I knew that he was going to have such a hard time processing his emotions and thoughts after his contact, and that he would just need that support. She went off on me, saying how I always prioritize the boys and never her, and how I should be happy that she booked and paid for the getaway even though I earn more money than she does. She said I should get my mom to do the contact or ask their agency to arrange someone. I said no, I wanted to be there to support the 11-year-old. She said something along the lines of, "You won't be able to do this when we have a child." We ended up having a huge argument. She left the restaurant and then texted me some pretty nasty things later, and then yesterday she messaged me with just normal messages as if nothing happened, but I haven't responded. Now for an update, I've come to realize that she doesn't consider my boys as genuinely part of my family. She doesn't see me as a dad, she sees me as a babysitter. I don't want this relationship to be over. Genuinely, I love her. I'm the type of guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. I have felt so depressed since the fight, and it was even worse that I had to wear an emotional mask for the 11-year-old the past week because he has been so depressed after seeing his mom, and I don't want him to see me depressed. Where do I go from here? Please don't give advice like, just break up, because I know that's an option, but I don't want to take it. It's hard finding people with what I do for a living, and I feel so broken that I thought I had found someone real. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Well, she's shown her true colors. So you can do with that information what you would like. You can try to work this out with her, but knowing what you know now, can you ever trust her with your boys? Do you think she would want to build a relationship with them if she stays in your life? It almost seems like she's viewing them as placeholders until you have a child together. How would that dynamic go with this knowledge? Or you can cut your losses now and probably have a lot less future drama. Comment 2. Through most of this post, it seems obvious you love your kids more than her, which is exactly how it should be. She's shown she can't handle that. You two are not compatible. End of story and end of relationship. But then you're ending. Why are you so adamant about staying with her knowing she doesn't care about your children? It makes it seem like you're willing to make your children suffer to stay with her, which is obviously poor behavior on your part. Now, for the update. 2 days after the argument, M texted me asking if we could meet to talk. Not sure what to expect, I agreed, and we decided to meet at the local diner where we had gone on one of our first dates. I got there early to grab a table and calm my nerves. Honestly, I was feeling anxious about discussing the recent conflict because it was still fresh, but I hoped we could work things out. The diner wasn't as cozy as I remembered. I found myself looking around at the booths and tables, wondering if they had always been this cramped. When Em walked in, she looked put together but distant, and it felt like she was shutting me out. The first thing she did was order a coffee before even saying hi, and I was like, oh great, we're off to a fantastic start. I asked her how her day was, and she just shrugged it off, changing the subject to the weather. We both knew this wasn't about the weather, but I figured I'd take what I could get. After a bit of awkward small talk, Em suddenly brought up the boys, asking me if I was ready to prioritize her. I felt a knot in my stomach as I explained my commitment to the 11-year-old. She didn't seem to get why that was so important to me, and I was just sitting there thinking, are you serious? The diner was packed, and the noise around us felt overwhelming. It felt like everyone else was having a good time while we were in our own mess. Her frustration grew as she claimed I was being unreasonable. I mentioned how the 11-year-old was struggling with emotions after the meeting with his mom, and how he was having a rough time processing that. Em rolled her eyes and said I was just using the boys as an excuse. I couldn't believe it. At this point, she had raised her voice slightly, drawing attention from other tables, and I noticed a couple staring at us, which only added to my discomfort. I suggested we take a walk to cool down, and she reluctantly agreed. We stepped outside into the chilly evening air, and that just made the tension feel even worse. It was like the cold was getting to us and making it harder to talk. Em suddenly asked how I would feel if she wanted kids of her own someday. I was taken aback, like seriously? I hadn't even thought about that yet, and now was not the time to be bringing that up. Em continued, saying she wanted a family and felt like I was holding her back. I tried to explain that I was already a parent and had responsibilities that came with that, but she didn't want to hear it. She accused me of being selfish, wanting her to fit into my life without considering her needs. I was like, what do you want me to do? Just ignore the kids? The discussion turned heated, with Em insisting I was living in the past. I could see her expression change. She looked almost hurt, saying she felt like a backup option. That really hit me hard, and I suggested we take a break from each other to think. She agreed, but as she turned to leave, she got a phone call. She answered it, and the conversation sounded tense. I overheard her mentioning the lodge. I didn't stick around to hear the rest of that conversation because I needed to get out of there. Later that night, Em sent me a message saying she needed space. At that point, I was just emotionally drained and trying to wrap my head around everything. The next day, I got a text from the 11-year-old asking if we could talk. I was surprised he was reaching out to me after everything that had happened. I met the boy at our favorite ice cream shop, figuring I could use the distraction. We sat down and ordered our usuals, but I could tell something was on his mind. Suddenly, he revealed some surprising news. He had talked to Em after the meeting. He told me that Em explained how she understood the importance of his relationship with me and that she wanted to be more involved with him and the other boys. That hit me hard. I realized that the situation was changing in a way I hadn't expected. The boy mentioned she even asked him about his interests and what he liked to do. After we finished our ice cream, I decided to reach out to Em, hoping to clarify everything. I sent her a simple text asking if we could meet again to discuss things. I knew this was going to be complicated, but I was willing to give it a shot. As I waited for her response, I felt the pressure of the situation rising. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but I knew it was going to be a crazy ride. Edit. Em and I met 2 days later at a park. I was surprised to see her with the 11-year-old. She told me she wanted to introduce him to her family. I was confused, but agreed. Em's parents were nice and welcoming. We had a good barbecue, but I still felt uneasy. Em's mom pulled me aside to talk. She wanted to make sure I was right for Em. It was awkward, but necessary. After dinner, the 11-year-old asked to play ball. I agreed, and Em joined us. We had fun, and I could see Em trying to connect with him. It gave me hope for the future. Am I the idiot for telling my boyfriend to stop acting distant when his family teases him about marriage? Am I the idiot for pressuring my boyfriend to propose and then getting mad when he didn't? Hi all. My boyfriend and I recently got back from an overseas trip. Everyone I know was convinced he was going to propose to me over there. 6 months ago, his mom even got a ring sizer and recorded the size of my ring finger and asked what kind of engagement ring I want. All of his friends also told me they thought he would propose to me on this trip. We were away for 2 weeks. The holiday was perfect, and we really enjoyed it. However, the proposal didn't happen. On the last night of our holiday, I asked when he thought we would get engaged. He said he doesn't want to talk about it and refused to give me an answer. He knows I don't want children before I get married. I reminded him of this after I asked about getting engaged, and he got mad that I was giving him an ultimatum. Again, he refused to discuss marriage with me. I know for a fact it won't happen within the next few months, as we work opposite shifts and only get a few days off together every 10 weeks. We have agreed that we want kids in the next few years, but it's really important to me that I am married before becoming a mother. We own a house together, but I am sick of waiting and sick of him not talking about it. I don't know what to do. I feel as though most other guys would have asked by now. We are financially well off due to our jobs, own a house together, and have been together for more than half a decade. Am I wasting time? To add, I feel as though I am growing resentful due to waiting. Many of his friends and my friends are engaged within 1 to 2 years of dating. I know every relationship is different, and I can't help but feel jealous. This is definitely a me problem, but I am worried that it's ruining our relationship. To add, thank you for all your responses. I have decided that I will sit him down and have a conversation with him when he returns from work. As you have made me realize, if he doesn't want to talk about it, that is my answer. I will ask him what he is waiting for and see if we can work something out. However, I have decided on a timeline in my head and am prepared to walk away. I'm actually having a big cry right now as I realize I may have wasted many years of my life with someone who doesn't want to commit. Again, thank you all for your responses, perspectives, and honesty. Now for an update. I sat down and had a chat with my partner. I told him how I was feeling and that I was upset that he's been refusing to talk about it. I asked all the same questions again. He said he wants to marry me and that he understands and accepts that I don't want kids before marriage. I asked about a timeline. He said within 2 years. I asked why he shut me out before. He said his whole family and some of his friends are pressuring him to ask me, and were also expecting him to propose on our holiday. He's the kind of person who is a little bit oppositional and doesn't like being told what to do. So me asking on the last day was the straw that broke the camel's back. His mother had been texting him every day asking if he had proposed. Apparently. He also said that financially he doesn't want to have a wedding yet. Even though I am happy to elope or have a backyard wedding, he wants a big wedding with his family and friends, so he wants to save up for it. He was extremely understanding and a bit upset that I would ever think he didn't want to marry me. I have decided that our relationship is worth more than marriage, and I am happy to wait the 2 years for marriage and children. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The fact that he won't even discuss it is a red flag to me. Him just shutting you down and being dismissive is disrespectful and rude. You're not a passenger here. Stop worrying about what he wants and think about what you want. We can't control what others do or don't do, only what we are willing to accept. It doesn't sound like he plans to marry and figures he can kick the can down the road indefinitely by shutting you down. If marriage were a deal breaker, you would have ended things by now in his mind. So it's not a deal breaker, and therefore, he's going to carry on as is. So the choice is really yours. Stay with a man who quite clearly doesn't wish to marry and won't even have a discussion to tell you that, or end this and date someone who shares similar goals to yours when it comes to marriage and children. Comment 2. Yes, you are wasting time. Yes, you should break up and be angry. Refusing to discuss marriage? What kind of child is he? You are his partner of 5 years and you are worthy of a discussion. And honesty. The truth is, most likely that he doesn't want to marry you. But there is no one else on the horizon, so he wants to keep the relationship going because it's comfortable for him. Don't let him take your fertile years with no commitment and a refusal to discuss. Now for the update. I'm feeling way more hopeful about my relationship with my boyfriend after our talk. Seriously, it felt like a huge relief. I figured to celebrate our new understanding, I'd plan a little dinner at home for just the two of us. I wanted to do something nice, really show that we're in this together. I invited my boyfriend and his parents since I thought it would be nice to get closer as a family. I know, it's a bit much, but I felt like we were ready for it. His mom makes the best lasagna ever, so I was excited for her to make that. When my boyfriend's parents arrived, they brought a bottle of red wine and a dessert they made, which was super nice of them. His dad is like the dessert champ, and they always bring something tasty when they come over. The dinner started off great with laughter and casual conversation. It was just the kind of night I had hoped for. I thought his dad might say something about my boyfriend and I being engaged since we had that talk after our trip. But thankfully, he didn't. I honestly didn't want to put anyone on the spot. Although, now that I think about it, it would have made things easier if he had. Now, during dessert, my boyfriend's mom jokingly asked about wedding plans. She asked if we had picked a date yet, and there was a brief silence. Just a moment of awkwardness that felt like forever. My boyfriend smiled, but he quickly changed the topic to the upcoming football season. Like, can you believe that? Football. I mean, I get it, but still. A few days later, my boyfriend mentioned wanting to go to his friend's birthday party. I was like, yes, let's have some fun. So, I planned to make it a fun night out, just the two of us and his friends. At the party, my boyfriend's friends teased him about getting engaged soon. They were all like, what's up with that? And he laughed it off like it was no big deal. But I could tell he was acting a bit different. He became more reserved, and it was just kind of off. I noticed him scrolling through his phone a lot too, like he was distracted or something. I asked if everything was okay, and he just said, I'm fine. You know that phrase we all love? Yeah, that one. After the party, my boyfriend seemed distant, not really talking much. I decided to give him space, thinking he might be tired from the party. Like we all need our downtime, right? A week later, we went to a family barbecue at my parents' house. His parents were also there, making it a bigger gathering. I was excited for my mom to see him. She's been asking when she would get to meet him, and I figured this was the perfect chance. During dinner, my dad jokingly asked when we were getting married. I mean, come on, Dad, really? My boyfriend chuckled but didn't respond, which felt off to me. I could tell my mom was waiting for an answer too. I also noticed my boyfriend's mom watching him closely, looking a little worried. It was like she could sense something was off too. After dinner, I overheard her asking him if he was okay. That's when he mentioned needing to talk to his parents about their timeline. I suggested we have a joint conversation with his parents for clarity. I mean, we were all on the same page, right? So I thought it would be good for everyone to be together. We agreed to meet his parents for coffee the following weekend. At the coffee meeting, his parents were warm and welcoming, which was a relief. I was worried they might be cold or standoffish, but they weren't at all. My boyfriend expressed his feelings about wanting to take their time with engagement, and his mom seemed supportive of it. But his dad, on the other hand, looked skeptical, like really skeptical. He brought up family traditions about getting engaged before starting a family. That's when my boyfriend became defensive. He started arguing about how their relationship was more important than those traditions, and I could tell it was a sensitive topic for him. After the meeting, my boyfriend and I walked without speaking much. It was just one of those times when there's so much on your mind that you don't even know what to say. I suggested we take a break from family gatherings to sort things out, and we agreed to have a quieter weekend without family distractions. A few days later, my boyfriend got a call from his sister about a family event. She mentioned that their parents were upset about the engagement talk and that it was increasing the pressure on him. That made things even more complicated. He didn't know how to respond, which caused even more strain in our relationship. It was just a lot, you know? I decided to focus on our relationship first, so I planned a weekend getaway for us. I thought it would be nice to escape for a bit and help us reconnect away from all the family expectations. It was what we needed, honestly. Edit. The weekend getaway was great for us. We talked about everything without distractions. He told me he had been planning to propose before the trip, but felt pressured not to. We also discussed how to handle family expectations together. We're now on the same page and feel better about our future. Am I the idiot for refusing to move back to a dangerous mobile home with my husband and his dysfunctional family? Am I the idiot for refusing to move back to a dangerous mobile home with my husband? My husband, 34 years old, and I, 26 years old, have been together for almost 5 years. We have a son, 2 years old, together. We lived in a desert state, I won't say which because he uses Reddit, but doesn't know my account, with his parents, who were pretty nice. However, it's a terrible place. The nearest hospital is more than 20 miles away. The neighbors get raided by the police about every other week, just across the street from us. And their gate and fence are so pathetic that other neighbors' dogs come and unalive our little dogs left and right. There's a bullet hole in the door that haunts me because it was hit when I was pregnant and napping on the couch. If the door hadn't been made of steel, it would have hit me. I could never let my son freely run around the front yard because I was afraid of a dog coming and attacking him. Everything is a minimum of 20 minutes away, and my son had no cousins his age that we could reasonably see, and we had no friends that he could play with. So I was worried he wasn't going to be properly socialized. Not including my husband, there are 5 other people living in that 3-bedroom mobile home. They built us a tiny studio apartment just behind it. I couldn't do it anymore. So in 2023, my husband and I had a long discussion. I wanted us to move to another state where my family lives. I wanted us to go together, but financially we couldn't. We agreed that I would go there with our son, build up an income, and get an apartment, and he could come down here after a year. We talked about it extensively before we made this decision. The location is great, there's public transportation, and I work at a daycare that provides free childcare for my son and has an excellent curriculum. My son is flourishing with all his friends at school and his older cousin, who he absolutely adores. We were planning on my husband coming in September, but then something happened. He got sued for a minor accident by an insurance company that didn't want to pay. He showed me the legal document. They were suing for $8,000. He bumped into a Corvette. He was panicking, saying that we couldn't afford to move because he was so sure he'd lose this case or couldn't afford the lawyer fees. So we had to move back. His mother bought our tickets, and we're supposed to go at the end of this month, August. I'm filled with dread. I can't do it. It's terrible. There's no benefit to being there in that crowded house with his cheating father, his alcoholic brother, and his leech of a wife who he also cheats on, and brings his side piece to the house in that dangerous neighborhood, 20 miles away from any emergency room. And the worst part is that if we had waited a few weeks, they wouldn't have even had to buy the tickets, and we could have gone with our original plan, because he told me that the insurance company dropped the case and decided to pay the $8,000 because they realized they would lose the case otherwise. My job doesn't want me to quit. I don't want to quit. I tried bringing up all the points that I've stated about why it's better for us here in my state. I make more here. Over there, the rent is the same as here, actually a little higher, but I'd be lucky to find a job that pays me $14 an hour, which wouldn't even be enough to rent a one-bedroom there. My husband is an immigrant currently working on getting his citizenship with a lawyer. He can't keep a job for more than a few months because they mistreat him. He has a bad back, so physical jobs are hard for him, and the cleaning job he recently had apparently nearly drove him to unalived. So he quit, which I totally understand. I found an apartment that, if I apply and get accepted, would give me $500 off my first month of rent. I'd use it to pay back his mother for the wasted tickets. I tried to tell him, and he got so frustrated, saying that I'm dragging him back and forth and not respecting his decisions, that I'm basically steamrolling him into making the decisions. I'm heartbroken, I'm tired, there's no benefit to going back there. I want to bring him here. But after I told him all my points today, he just shut down. He won't read my messages. I'm contemplating divorce. I think I would get full custody considering the circumstances, but I don't want it to go there. I'm a people pleaser, so every time I try to talk to him about it, I end up feeling guilty and agreeing to go. But the closer the date of the trip comes, the more dread I feel. I don't even think I could afford a lawyer for divorce, let alone a custody battle. What should I do here? Should I just suck it up and go? If push comes to shove, I can just go and wait 2 years to get our lives together and just come back. But I won't get free childcare at this job anymore. They stopped offering that benefit shortly after I started, so if I restart, I wouldn't be able to afford how much it would cost to send my son there. And I love the kids I look after too, so I know I'll cry on my last day. I don't know what to do. I'm running out of time and my anxiety is through the roof. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. It sounds like your present job and life is so much better than what you would go back to. You're the one who is working. You're the one who has made a new life for your child. There's nothing positive about moving back. In fact, it all sounds horrible. Living in a trailer with 5 other people, misery. You have every right to happiness, and you have an obligation to keep your child safe. Your intuition is telling you what to do. Comment 2. If you were a loved one, I'd tell you not to go back to that environment. If he wants to be married, he can come to you. It's not like he has a career or even any prospect of one. Leave the ball in his court and stop imagining the worst with custody, etc. He certainly can't afford a lawyer. Wanting you and the child in that environment means he doesn't make good decisions. It's time to stop pleasing and put your child first. Now for the update, I'm back with some updates. My husband is still not here, and it's been a month since my last post. He called me while I was shopping, asking about our travel plans. I told him I was still packing boxes and getting ready for the move. He sounded annoyed and said he was dealing with a lot of stress from the lawsuit. I spent the evening organizing my son's toys and thinking about the upcoming trip. I noticed my husband hasn't been communicating as much, and I was curious about it. One weekend, I took my son to a friend's birthday party at a local playground. I ran into a couple who used to live in my neighborhood, and they told me they moved back because of similar problems. They shared their struggles, and I felt like we were in the same boat. I tried to text my husband, but he responded with a short message saying he was too busy to talk. A week later, he called to say he can't make the move happen anytime soon because of money issues. I talked about it with my parents over a video call, and they suggested a family visit. I was unsure, but agreed to invite them to my new job's family day event. On the day of the event, my parents showed up with a surprise guest, my younger sister. She complained about not being able to find a job in her area, which made things awkward at the event. My husband called during the event, and I stepped away to answer. He told me that the lawsuit is getting worse, and he might need to file for bankruptcy. I suggested that he come out to visit, but he said no, saying he was too stressed. At the event, my sister brought up my husband's money problems in front of everyone. I tried to change the subject, but my parents started questioning my choices. I spent a few days focused on my son and organizing our living situation. My husband called again, sounding more distant, and mentioned he might be losing his job. I went to a community meeting about resources for families in crisis. While there, I met a woman who shared info about a support program for families. I sent my husband the info, but he didn't respond for days. A few days later, I got a message from him saying he doesn't want to talk about it anymore. I took my son to a local farmer's market, trying to distract myself. While there, I ran into an old friend who asked about my husband. I returned home to find my husband had sent a text saying he's moving back without me. I tried calling him, but he didn't pick up, leaving me with a lot of questions. The next day, I got a letter from his lawyer about the money issues. Edit. It's been a week since my husband's letter. Our communication has been minimal. I'm trying to focus on work and my son. I'm not sure about our future or what to do next. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.